Sup YouTube, it's New Never You with the first episode of the new series. It's probably gonna be a pretty long video, and sorry for the sound in the background. Actually one of the quietest places that I can find at the moment. So I wanted to talk about conspiracies and things of that nature. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist. I just do a lot of research on a lot of different topics. I hear certain things and they don't sit well with me, and so I like to do research. And usually when you research one topic, it leads to another topic, especially if it has something to deal with like an evil agenda or an evil cause or Satan or demons, stuff like that. Like a lot of that stuff is all intertwined with each other, and it's kind of insane. So there's a few things that I'll put in the description where you can just look up yourself. So first we'll start off with the coronavirus, obviously, COVID-19. Nobody really knows where it came from, so they say. But there's a Spanish flu, that outbroke in 1918 to, I believe, 1920. And apparently it did the same thing. You can watch the movie Contagion, and it kind of details it a little bit, but you can research it yourself to get a better understanding of it, which I would always do anyway. But in the movie, it said that it killed 1% of the population, which was around 70 million people at the time, from what the movie said. But apparently back in 1918 to 1920, they closed all the businesses and freaked out about all that and whatever. But now technologies for the general public is a lot better than what it was back then. So you could easily surf the web now and make mass propaganda, whatever. Back then, all they had was newspaper. So, but I think it's called yellow journalism, where you basically portray something as worse than it already is, or it actually is, in a newspaper. But there's a lot of things like that happen that we don't really see. We see it, but we don't. Like cloning. We can talk about cloning. I believe Barack Obama had a press statement, or whatever they call it, a press conference. I don't know the correct term for it, where he said that they weren't going to open up anything to cloning or human cloning or any of that reproductive stuff, because it's unsafe and it's unnatural and all this other stuff. But they've cloned sheep, and like, what's the point of cloning sheep, right? Like, they say they do it for the food, but like, as humans, there's an innate problem where you get a little bit of taste of power and you want to just expand it. So if they do lab tests on rats and monkeys and stuff like this, what's to say they're not cloning rats and monkeys? And if they have to do human testing, then what's to say they won't clone a human being? It's just something to think about, because it's easy for the government to say, oh, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, to you, and lie about it, because they've lied about a lot of things. But who do you call on the government? You can't call the police, because the government owns the police, and everything else within that is the government. So, you know, it's funny, because you vote people in, But if they do something against the Constitution or moral right code, you can't even do anything about it. I mean, you can, but cat's looking at my light. You can, but I mean, it's like you face the risk of losing everything you have. In certain instances, people have lost family members because they were labeled terrorists for going against the government. And I mean, it takes a very strong person to sit and research stuff like the FCC, FBI. I got my notes here. Polar shifts, H1N1, the assassinations of Abe Lincoln and JFK, the Book of the Law, Thelma, or Thelema, I don't know how to actually pronounce that one. The Sephiroth, HAARP, HARP, chemtrails, GMOs, how 911 and Hollywood are intertwined, and how they subliminally put 911 in certain things before 9/11 happened. In the Simpsons, there's a couple movies that you can see little screenshots where they'll have one reporter, he'll be from Channel 9, and then there'll be another reporter, he'll be from Channel 11, and there'll be a 9 right here, and then the 11 will be right next to it, so it's like 9/11. You got stuff like that. You got stuff like Osama bin Laden, and I believe his real name was Ted Osman. How Nimrod was actually born on December 25th and not Jesus. Baal, the Tower of Babel, Nephilim, fallen angels, Mayday, Zion, the Geneva Convention, Sirius, how it's a dog with a star on its eye, and the star symbolizes light bringer, Lucifer, the devil, Satan. How a lot of the holidays are satanic, like Thanksgiving. You're supposed to be giving thanks, but the origins of Thanksgiving is the Pilgrims killed all of the Native Americans. It's like a manslaughter. Just, they pretended to be their friends, and they learned how to live off the land and kill animals and make weapons and stuff, make fire. And then they all sit them down for dinner, and then they just go for a massacre. And it's like, stuff like that, I won't say it's really hard. I'm not a Native American, but I'm pretty sure that's hard to swallow in the Native American culture, the history. It's like, that's a lot to forgive. Planned Parenthood, Beta Kitten, the origins of Valentine's Day, Lupra, I think it's Lupercalium, circadian rhythm, IMF, what's this, Monarch something, Monarch butterfly. It had something to do with a monarch butterfly. I'm trying to find it real quick. Gnosticism is another one. I can't find the one about the butterfly. But it's basically brain control, mind control is what they call it. I can't really remember why they call it the monarch butterfly. But you can look up the origins of what Superman means, and Kal and his father's name. I believe it's like voice of God and then will of God or something like that. You can look up Asheroth and all of the ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. Monarch butterfly, yeah. As they'll use butterflies, monarch butterflies, in certain media platforms to indicate that somebody's being brainwashed or they're manipulating somebody's brain. You can look at certain music videos where they'll have like the artists in psych wards. Lil Wayne has one called Crazy, I believe. B.O.B. has one featuring Nicki Minaj. I can't remember the song. Pink has one where she's like swinging off chandeliers and stuff, and you can see in each scene like she's changing clothes and she's like slowly becoming a different person, and then at the end they come and take her away. You got the Katy Perry one where she's in a psych ward. You got Whip My Hair Back and Forth, like they're all like in this psych ward and these kids are like painting and stuff. So that's an example of the monarch butterfly. It's so much stuff that I could just go in detail about. You can read the book Propaganda. You can read the book Agenda 21. There's a book called To Make a Slave, I believe it's called, and it details how the Willie Lynch letter. It details how they planned to basically eradicate the black male, especially get him out of the household. And I'll go through the synopsis of that real quick. Basically, it was you take the black male out of the family, after he's impregnated his wife or girlfriend or whatever at the time. And if they have, let's say, a boy and a girl, they'll take the male, the adult man, out of the house, whip him in front of all the women, if not kill him. So the woman, black female, is afraid for her sons. So she holds her sons too close and don't let them experiment with life or anything like that, because they're afraid of what happened to their husbands or their brothers or their dads or their uncles that's going to happen to their son. And if they have a daughter, then they teach the daughter to be independent to where they don't need a male. So when the male child and the female child, African American black, get together, it's like the man is more so the woman and the woman's more so the man, because of how they were raised, because of the mental games that the slave owners would play on the slaves. So basically there's a role reversal, and you can see it now. You can see more independent women now of really any race, and then you can see like more feminine males that aren't homosexuals, but like they just do things that women would do more so what men would do. And you can look at the household, you see more women taking care of the kids than you see the men. You can go to the grocery store, and this isn't like the greatest example, but if you look around before COVID-19 hit, you saw more women with their children out with wedding bands on than you would see with the man and the woman and the children at the same time. So it's just so much stuff that we'll just call them the enemy, because to me, they are the enemy, Satan. He just programmed to just tear us down as a people, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and dude's ruthless. But it's easy to fall into that trap if you don't know what's going on. And you have to be careful. Because a lot of this stuff, there's going to be a point in time where if you have anything to say vocally against the government, it might be labeled as terrorism. They've already shown you that your amendment rights, they can take them away as they please. There's some social media platforms that if you say coronavirus or anything towards the nature of it, they'll either delete your video, strike your account, won't stream your video so like people can see it. That's not freedom of speech. That's controlled speech. So I will say that it will be scary at some point where you feel like you're going to be alone, and you're going to feel like that if you're telling the truth, if you're spreading the truth. I definitely need to get in my Bible more, but I do know that it says that at some point, standing up for God is going to be extremely difficult, and you will face persecution. Right now in America, we're not facing a huge amount of persecution as Christians, as followers, as believers. But as I look at other people's videos that talk about exposing stuff like this, a lot of them all make fun of God. A lot of them all make fun of Jesus. They say he was ripped off from ancient Egyptians, and he was made up by the white man and all this other stuff. And I don't argue with people's beliefs on things. We can have a conversation, but if you want to argue about it, I'm not doing it. One, it tells me not to. The Bible tells me not to. But it's just funny how so many people want to discredit God or discredit Jesus, Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity. But then they'll say like, stay prayed up, go with God, but like you just dissed them the whole video. It's just a lot of stuff that happens that coincides with each other, and you got to be safe. You got to know what's going on, and you have to study for yourself. Definitely study the scriptures, because there's a story in the Bible featuring Lot where Sodom and Gomorrah happened, and you can look at Marvel. They have a character named Gomorrah. I don't know what that symbolized towards or not, but in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah, it was just wicked. A lot of killings, a lot of immoral sexual acts and things like that. And I believe it was 2 angels came to Sodom and Gomorrah, and the dudes of the village tried to sleep with them, basically rape them. And God was like, you know what? I had enough. So the few people that he gave the warning to from the angels, God gave the warning to from the angels, he told them to run and don't look back. And Lot's wife looked back, and God turned into a pillar of salt. I'm not a Bible scholar. I don't know what the salt is, actual salt, or if it's just dust from which we were created. I'm not 100% sure. But shortly after, Lot had 2 daughters, and they got him drunk, and they slept with him, and they got pregnant. Now in the Bible, it says that they were the Ammonites and the Canaanites. I don't have my Bible in front of me, but it was two different basically villages at the time, and like they've been the enemy of God since that point. And I looked at how people's names change when they get married, especially if they're female. So it could have started as Ammonite and ended up as Johnson as modern day. Like, regimes don't change, the names just do. So look at these corporations and see what's going on. See who's head of these corporations and see who's funding these corporations. That's a lot to think about. So I'm not gonna put what I said in the description. If you need to pause it or back it up, just do that, because it's a lot. But I'll probably keep making these videos about different topics, and hopefully I'm helping somebody, and hopefully this saves somebody's life, and hopefully it leads somebody to strengthen their relationship with God and just be nicer to people and care about us as a people. Black, white, just the human race. Y'all be safe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.